And good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be back on the show, Violetta and Susan. Thank you for asking me to come back and to share with the citizens of District 2, but most of all, the citizens of the city of Mobile. It's always a pleasure to be your public servant. Um, Couple things this week that I'd like to share with you. One is you're going to notice soon that the Hank Aaron House will be moving from the Hank Aaron Stadium, and it will be moving down the bay actually to around the Texas Street Park or James Sills Park. Now, it needs to be noted that this has been said that it will be temporary and not permanent. But let's be known that I think, in my personal opinion, that the best place for Hank's house is in Hank's neighborhood in Hank's district, and for the people in that district to really take advantage of the fact that they have a very, very proud heritage in baseball and a very significant part of history in the Hank Aaron Museum House. So I look forward to Councilman Corey Penn taking that initiative up and helping him do whatever it takes to get that house back out to where it belongs. But if need be, it temporarily sitting at Sills Park. I hope our citizens and our neighbors and everyone are supportive of that for a part-time visit to the down the Bay Area. Now, as far as the family feels and the neighbors and Tobinville and everybody else, please note that it is temporary. And I hope to see that it goes out to an area of the city that truly represents the true history of the home and the individual that played baseball. The second item of conversation that you guys have been hearing about in the city of Mobile has been, at what point is annexation going to hit the table? What is it going to entail? How many pieces? What neighborhoods are being annexed? Well, right now, I don't even know. The map has been presented partially in times where it's had as many as 26,000 people, and it's backed up sometimes to say, well, if we make it smaller, can it be with this many people? I really don't know what the end result is, but I think the administration wants to go for the biggest number possible or the largest bang possible. And we really won't know until they roll that out. But let me be plain. It's been said that I really haven't said anything about annexation, but that's not true. My biggest concern about annexation, and the thing that I've told the administration over and over and over again, is that I do not want to see them dilute the minority voting age population for the overall city that we have right now. I don't want to see that totally go away. And to do an annexation that takes us back to a place that we already been, where we barely have a voice, I don't want to see that happen now that we have a chance to have a voice and a major voice in this city. So that is a really big concern to me. Where we are, how we're going to handle it, I don't know, but I've mentioned that to him now more than once. And it seems that I haven't gotten a response from the administration that I've liked to have gotten from them when it comes to this. So hopefully, as we go forward over the next few weeks, that we can work our way through this. Now, the other thing is that I have to be realistic with everyone. The city of Mobile has to grow. We have to find a way so that we can keep our western border open if we want to expand in the future also. So there is a need for us to do some type of annexation. So I am very supportive of voting for annexation. What it looks like, I just don't know yet. So that's where we are with our two major items in the city right now and what we're looking forward to. Now, just briefly, uh, let us remember that in 1983, the federal government voted to pass legislation to mark Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday as a national holiday. Here it is in 2022, almost 20 years away from the day that they first announced this as a holiday, that we actually have a day where some of us can take off and celebrate his service to our community and to our country, and basically to us as voters, and having a voice in the United States of America. As I said before, there's still some people out there that simply want to take us back to a time and a place that we don't want to go anymore. So I urge you to use tomorrow as a day of service, to reach out to everyone that you know, to remind people of how important it is to vote, and remind people that the most important and most stringent and strongful sound that you have to influence anything in our city, in our state, in our country is your right to vote. So, everyone, enjoy tomorrow. Enjoy Martin Luther King Day. And I look forward to hearing and talking to every one of you in the city of Mobile.
Okay, well, we thank you for that. I just have a few little questions I need to go over with you. Uh, First of all, talking about, uh, and I'm glad you brought this up, the Hank Aaron's museum home.
Yes, ma'am.
I know currently it is at Sears Park or will be there soon. What about the possibility of the city purchasing that soccer field over there? And then the house could be there, plus the area could be developed where other, because think about the number, you're young, but we have several major league, former major league baseball players that came from Mobile, like Willie McCovey, Amos Otis. It's probably five or six of them. We could easily develop that into some sort of a baseball Hall of Fame area.
I somewhat agree with that, and I think it's a great idea. We're also doing the Hall of Fame bust and statues downtown around the convention center in Cooper Riverside Park. So a partnership there could also be possible. I think it could go downtown, but in all actuality, I think that knowing the history and the family and also knowing Hank Aaron himself, I think the most value of a museum would be for it to be in the actual community in which it came from, to be in the Tolmanville community itself. So and that's my opinion, and
Yes,
some may think better. Now, but if we were to place it at Seals Park, I do think that it would be better up around the park and the baseball fields
yes,
where it could get a better foot traffic for those
it
people
could.
that play baseball,
Yes,
and for the kids to actually see it when they come there to play park ball,
yes,
and also when Bishop State uses our field to play
yes,
over there. So I think it would be an added value that if it were there and not on the back street at Augusta Street facing the neighborhoods.
yes, that's true.
Yeah.
And then the other thing too is that area could be developed for other types of other people that we may want to honor and place over there too.
Yes, ma'am. Especially knowing that so many of the African American Hall of Famers, like Satchel
Satchel
Paige
Page.
and those guys came from right down the bay on
Yes,
Savannah Street, and to know that they played stickball on Texas Street on the hill, that would be a major benefit for us.
yes,
Just to know that we have that opportunity there. So I'm very excited about that opportunity,
yes.
but still, yeah, I have to honor the vision and the dream of the people and the family from which the home came from.
I understand.
So that's just like I said again. That's just my thinking, but your idea is great, and I think that in the future we could move towards doing something like that. In 1997, we built the park when I was at Trademark Construction on Andrew Street. It was Aaron Park. It has a I think 15, 20-foot granite statue out there of Hank Aaron in the state of Alabama on it hitting his home run. And then it had a next component to that after the park was developed for there to actually be a museum on that same site. And that's between Andrews and Helvesta Street, right there in Tolmanville.
Yes,
Now, I don't know if there's enough room for that home there, but if it were, that would be the prime location for it, being that in 97, the intent was for the next step to be a museum there for Mobile's Hall of Fame and to recognize Hank Aaron.
okay, great. And one other thing before we leave that topic, I get on my second one. He's actually from down the bay. When his family moved to Tolmanville, that was doing urban renewal. I went to school with his youngest sister.
Mm-hmm.
Hank Aaron left Mobile in the 50s playing ball.
Mm-hmm.
So he's originally from down the bay, but we don't mind. We don't mind. We just want it to be in an appropriate place, not stuck on the back of the park
Yes, ma'am.
facing houses.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
and yes, ma'am. Now you got to remember. Now I wasn't born until '69,
yeah.
and when
Oh,
we
I know, I know.
urban renewal was taking place when we moved down the bay in '73.
Hmm.
I still remember the day the houses came to tear all the houses down in front of where we lived
Yeah,
on the corner of Cedar and Augusta Street.
yeah,
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 so I'm with you on that.
yeah,
But
yeah.
in all actuality, whatever's best and whatever the community wants, I think in the long run, that's what I think we're all going to go for.
And I think he needs the honor. We need to
Yeah,
actually honor him
I agree.
as we should.
I agree.
Okay, next on my agenda is annexation. I know you went into quite a bit of depth already, but we're concerned about, as you were saying, diluting our numbers, diluting the voting population, because
Yes, sir.
that can be a different number from the actual population. Would you speak a little bit about that?
Well, the voting age population right now in a city from blacks to white is a difference or a delta of 5%. So there are 5% more black eligible voters in the city of Mobile than there are whites. But with annexation, if everyone comes into the plan that we saw, or not plan that we saw, a few maps that we saw way back last year sometime, I think that the numbers would come to what's called parity. There would be an equal amount of black registered voters or possible voters of voting age population. There would be an equal number of white possible registered voters. So that would take that number to even or 0-0. Where right now, if you look at it at 0-0, it's 5-0 on one side right now. So I don't know how a lot of people feel about that, but I think personally, a lot of our community should be up in arms because for now we finally have an opportunity to where we can truly be heard if
Yeah,
we come out to vote.
yeah,
If we come out to vote, and that's another thing. We have to vote in order to be heard. If not, nobody really takes us seriously.
yeah,
So, but that's a big number for us to consider right now if we come out to vote. But to lose that opportunity on an annexation before we ever have the chance to voice it is something serious to me. How do we resolve that? But on the other end, the city has to grow. So, how much do we grow in light of knowing what we could possibly do to that voting age disparity?
and then the areas that are anticipated in being annexed would actually be the majority population, would they not?
Well, you mean black to white?
Blacks to whites. It would be
Well,
whites.
the from some that I saw in the past, I don't know where we are now,
Uh-huh.
but from what I saw in the past, the areas are mostly white. Yes,
Okay.
but you also have to remember that there are very few areas in West Mobile that have a high concentration of blacks and
Yes.
minorities.
Yes.
So that in itself lets you know that if we truly go west, then the number of people we take in is going to be somewhat lopsided based on where people live. Now there has been a growing attrition or a growing additional number of minorities in sections of West Mobile, especially along the Moffett Road corridor.
Yes. Yes.
Kings Branch and those areas out there have increasingly become more and more attracted to minorities, and especially in District 7, as we've seen that district change over the
Yes.
last 4 years. So, we can look for that. But the overall majority of the population in West Mobile is other. And the majority of the population, which is in the city of Mobile, is white when we look out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm also a little concerned about District 2 because
Well,
our numbers can easily go.
I never said District 2 could at least easily change somewhat, but right now, even after redistricting, our numbers actually go up. We go back up to 62% after
Okay.
redistricting. So, I mean, for the next 8 years, maybe 12, we have a consistent flow now, unless annexation rotates the base around and changes it a little bit, because at some point after annexation, if everyone comes in, there has to be some type of reapportionment like we did with
Yes.
redistricting.
Yeah.
But however, the law says that we really don't have to redistrict, but once every 10 years. Then that's after the census count. So we could, if things were to go lopsided, we could wind up with 2 or 3 lopsided districts
Yeah.
for, a term or
A
two.
long
Yeah,
time.
for a term or two,
Yeah.
if the council does not allow a redistricting after annexation.
Yeah.
You know, but even knowing that, then with District 7 being what we've done in the last uh, uh, year, would have to remain the same, and that's because of the Voting Rights Act. We cannot take it back to the point that where it was. It has to maintain its integrity and character where it is, based on what we did during redistricting.
Yeah. Okay. One other thing quickly, and because I know your schedule's rather tight, can you speak just a little bit? I read an article about the Industrial Development Corporation and the uh, Brooklyn by the Bay. What's happening there? We don't need heavy industry right there by the park. So can you talk a little bit about that
Well,
briefly?
the council and several members of the community and so many others have even seen some of the planned development for the park that's going to be on the water down there.
Yeah.
There's a new beach, there's a amphitheater area, there's sitting and camping type of areas where it's green space. The bike trail actually goes back along the Crepe Myrtle Trail again and then turns out instead of going around Perimeter Road. So the development makes for a lot of green space. But however, there are some planned uses for hotel space, some business space, and also supporting business spaces for some of the engineering facilities that happen at Airbus down there. So when you say heavy industrial, I don't look for sky cranes and container ports. I look for maybe supporting businesses for the Airbus assembly line and the other MAA functions that we have at Brooklyn. I don't know what we may wind up. I hope in the future that we wind up with a FedEx facility down there, or or some other facility that supports our airport, as opposed to what we look at as heavy development.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I do know that because of board governance, that the mayor has asked that we go through a procedure where the board of directors for the industrial development board is looked at so they can review their processes and procedures to enhance their ability to make sure that they're just functioning at their highest capability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, one comment, and then I will be through. I have my grandfather when of course he lived to be 100 plus years old
Mhm.
before he passed. But he said all of that down there was white sandy beaches until all of state docks and everything else started moving in. Now I know how profitable state docks is, but he said every bit of that was just like Eastern Shore, just total white sandy beaches all the way down.
I've heard the same stories. My dad was born in 1920. His dad was born in the late 1880s.
Yeah.
So I've heard those same stories about Monroe Park and
Yes.
about
Yes.
how it was just used as one of the beautiful sites in the city of Mobile.
Mm-hmm.
It's unfortunate those times have changed. When we were kids, and I know you remember this because you've lived down the Bay all your life, just like we have. I mean, we could go from our house on Augusta Street all the way out to the water,
Yes.
and the other streets were subsequently, before they ran the interstate through our
Yes.
neighborhoods and kind of changed the way our neighborhoods were in the past. So I'm sure that was there, but this new park will give us a feel of what used to be, but it won't be what it was, when it was just totally glamorous to the city of Mobile as one of our largest entertainment
Yeah.
venues. It reminds me of seersucker in sundresses when they used to walk the streets
Yeah.
during Easter and the Easter
Yes.
parade.
You're right.
I don't know if we'd ever get back to that type of
Mhm.
environment, but what they're trying to do is something along those lines.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I am I have exhausted my list of questions, and we do appreciate you taking this time with us today. You helped to clear up quite a few issues with us. And we, of course, want to invite you back next month so you can kind of keep us abreast on the annexation as well as what's happening with the Brooklyn on the Bay part.
Well,
Okay.
yes, yes, ma'am. And may I say this? If you have a concern about annexation, if you have a concern about not hearing what's going on, now's the time to start voicing your opinion. Now's the time to be before the council and administration saying, this is what we don't want to see. Let's not wait till the map actually hits. Let's get out ahead of it and actually tell us what you want to see or what don't you want to see with the growth of your city.
Yeah.
The city doesn't belong to us as leaders and politicians. The city belongs to the people itself, and it's our job to vote what you, the city, and the population of the city wants Mobile to do. Everyone, again, enjoy the MLK Day of celebration and service. It's always a pleasure to speak with you, and most of all, it's a pleasure to be your public servant.
Thank you, Councilman Carroll. And we would like to thank you for joining us today and would like to invite you back again next week, next Sunday, 4 p.m. Thank you and good evening.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, everyone.